Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of On the Road with Iona. This is Chasing the Red. I'm standing on the 18th tee of Trump International in Dubai. I've been out here doing some practice following on from the final event of the DP World Tour season. I've played 8 holes to this point and I've got 1 hole left to play. And I've had some serious highs and some serious lows. But what happened to this point, you'll have to watch and see. That is bounce back ability and total fluke. That is not ideal. I am an absolute numpty because I was aiming at the wrong flag. That has gone miles. Watch your head. Don't be silly. That is a ridiculous 3. I cannot believe this has happened. So the floodlights only overlook holes 10 to 18 here. So we're starting at the 10th tee. It's a par 4. It kind of curves from left to right. So I'm out with the big dog. Let's give it a rip. Down the left half. I will just say I've got a bit of a neck pain going on this evening. I've slept a wee bit funny on my neck, so I'm hoping it eases off. That's just golf, isn't it? Sometimes you've got little niggles and you've got to just get on with it. I didn't want to waste the night to play golf, so I've put some deep heat on it. That's my excuses out the way. All right, that wasn't a very powerful drive. I've left myself 209 yards in. How is that? It's a long hole, this. 209 yards in, plays a little bit down the hill, a tiny bit of breeze hurting. I'm gonna hit my 5-wood. It's my 200 club, so it should get a bit of release. Such a beautiful temperature to play golf. It's gonna be a long, long putt, but I think that is on the dance floor down the right hand side. It's my trusty 5-wood. It's my favourite club in the bag. Right, okay. So we're still in Dubai, just using this opportunity to play a little bit of golf, and they love their golf in Dubai. They play it, you know, you go to golf clubs wherever you go, whether it's the Emirates or Jumeirah Golf Estates, where we do a couple of tournaments on the DP World Tour each year, and it is packed. It's so difficult to get tee time. But they are introducing, and they do have this concept of night golf, which means that it's even more popular because when people finish work, they can go and play golf. But the beautiful thing about night golf is not only is it really fun and it kind of feels like party golf, but it's the perfect temperature. You know, obviously in the day it's really, really hot, but at night it's a perfect temperature and you can get out there and enjoy it. Okay, so this is a really interesting green complex. It's massive, really wide at the front portion, but you can see the flags in the back portion, and it really pinches in the middle. My balls ended up just off the green on this kind of fringe, which is pretty tight. I mean, this turf is like really tight. The kind of grass you get out here is very grainy, so it's all very well being in like the fairway or on the fringe, but you want to look at the grass around and see, is the grass going against me or is it going with? If it's going with me, in this case it's kind of neither, it's just sort of sticking up, but you can see it goes in, it's directional, it grows in a different directions. If it was going against me, it'd be a really difficult chip shot because the way the grass kind of grabs the club. If the grass is going with you, you can actually entertain playing a nice little tight chip shot. Obviously I've got the putter in my hand as well because that's another option. I think in this circumstance, because the ball's a wee bit below my feet, I'm gonna putt it. I think that's the smart thing to do at this stage of the game. There's a big kind of Hog's Ridge in the middle here. It's like Humpty Dumpty under there. Whoa. Good for pace. Very good for pace. Testy one though coming up for par. Okay, this has got a little bit of movement in it from left to right. I think when it comes to putting, you know, obviously our goal is to hole putts, but ultimately all you can do is pick your intended line, and if you make a putt that starts on that intended line, you've misread it and it doesn't go in, you've still hit a good putt. I worked with a golf coach called Dave Allred. He's like a performance coach. He worked with the England rugby team in 2003 when they won the World Cup, and he's worked with players like Luke Donald, Jason Scrivener, other players in the DP World Tour in terms of their performance. And he was with Luke Donald when he went to world number 1. One of the things we spoke about was every time you hit a golf shot, rather than saying oh, it was a good or a bad shot, ranking yourself out of how effective were you at doing what you intended. So I intended to hit it there with this club, this yardage, or I intended to hit this putt on the left edge. Okay, if it didn't go in, then I've misread it, or perhaps something else has gone wrong. but measure how effective you've been at your intention rather than the outcome. So it's kind of like removing the outcome and trying to just stick to your process, which is the cliche that you hear all the time. Perfect. So I hit it on the left edge, that was my intention. The fact it went in was a bonus. Hope that makes sense. So I went to the shop and I have bought a very random pain patch. Kind of smells of deep heat. You'll know that smell. So I'm gonna put this on. I actually feel like I need it on like my neck, like here. Just slept funny. It's annoying at that, isn't it? When you like sleep funny and you can't really play golf. Does that look weird?
Yeah, but if you're paying free, is that right?
Yeah, let's see how it goes, shall we? The 11th hole, par 4, stroke index 10, 325 yards. Let's see where that bunker is. 214. Oh, it's not a driver, this. Or maybe I can take an aggressive line, but it's not a driver. I'm going to hit my 3-wood. So if you've been watching this Chasing the Red series, I want to say thank you, and also to let you know we've got some really cool episodes coming up. We've got guests coming on, we're going to some really cool places. And I'd also want to know and hear from you about how you're getting on chasing the red. Are you watching these and are you learning something? Is it inspiring you? Because at the end of the day, we're all out there trying to learn about this game together. And I've been lucky enough to play some of the most fabulous places all over the world. I've obviously played professionally, I've played very amateurishly as well. And now I'm kind of somewhere in the middle just doing my best. But there's so much about golf to learn. One of the things I find really interesting is the bag setup and how that leads to decisions that you make out on the golf course. Because I remember when I was learning how much I struggled with, getting equipment in the bag, and then out on the golf course, really struggling knowing which club to take when. And then I developed relationships with each club in the bag. Like I'd feel really confident with some clubs and not with other clubs, so I'd avoid using them to hit certain shots. I feel really happy with the kind of setup I like in my bag. Obviously at the moment I'm going through this bit of a change with my irons, and that is a process, but my 3-wood, my 5-wood, my driver, they're locked in. My wedges locked in, putter locked in. So my irons, I'm just figuring out. But if you've got any questions about bag setup and kind of how to set your bag up so that you can play the best golf possible, then please do fire them away. Because I remember feeling a bit bamboozled when I was learning golf about what do all these clubs mean? What's a 54 degree when it's at home? What's a lob wedge? What's this, that, and the next thing? What's a hybrid and when do you use it? So fire away any questions that you have and we can keep learning all this together. Right, I can just smack this down the middle. That's the beautiful thing about not taking too much club. Perfect. Right, 102 yards. It's nice that, isn't it? When you just like hit the fairway and you leave yourself a little wedge on. 102 yards is quite an interesting yardage for me in my bag right now because, long story short, I've got a 54 in here by accident. I didn't mean to put my 54 in here. I meant to put my 52, but I put my 54 and that's kind of on the limit for that 100-yard number. This is a shot I kind of play. This is a 120-yard club, my pitching wedge on the full. So to make it a 100-yard shot, I have to grip down it 1.5 inches or like 2 inches on the grip. You might think that's not going to make any difference, but honestly, the difference that makes to the distance you hit the ball is remarkable. So from what you're from standard, where I would grip it standard on the club, I have to come down the club a little bit and then I just swing it smooth and it should go bang on 100-yard shot. Wee bit left, but it looks about right. So I was talking about the grain, that you get out on the courses out here in the Middle East, the grain on the fairway and then on the greens. It's a really big part of it. You've got to be able to read putts and also read grain. If it's light, that means the light in colour, the grain is running away from you. If it's dark, it means the grass is growing towards you, and that means it's going to be slower. Down grain quicker, into the grain a lot slower. If you're looking and you're not really sure what the grain's doing, a good thing to do is go and look up by the cup, because you can actually see the way the sort of direction the grass is growing around the cup. In this instance, the grain isn't really in effect here. It looks like the grass is kind of growing up, so I don't need to worry too much about it. Bit of left to right on this. Oh, wow. Rush of blood. That was really quick. Some of you have been commenting about how I'm quite confident at holding out this sort of length, and I am. I feel like I tried to hit these putts with pace. I pick the line and then I try to keep my head like really still over the ball. But what I will say is that I'm out here in a really relaxed environment. I feel very comfortable playing out here. I've just got Ollie keeping me company. Try give me one of those in a tournament situation where there's loads of people watching and there's money on the line or pride on the line, reputation, and they become a lot harder. So I know I'm in a very privileged position out here sometimes when I feel relaxed, and hold a lot of putts when you feel relaxed. That's why I'm really pleased we've got some more guests coming on, because I'm putting a bit more pressure on myself and find myself a little bit more accountable in that way. And maybe, just maybe, heading into 2024, I might actually play some tournament golf. Right, this is 260 yard par 4, so it's a short par 4. You know, the previous hole I hit a 3-wood and a wedge and I walked off with a par. It's not really good enough, that. Like, that's disappointing. I did pull my wedge in, even though it was a good distance, I pulled it. Ah, there's the flag. Yeah, definitely gonna hit my driver. Doesn't look like there's too much trouble, so I can just give it laldy. This is basically a drivable par 4, but with my neck, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to like lay into this. I was playing with Camilla Lennarth from the Ladies European Tour recently, and she was talking about what she does to feel like she gets that extra 10-yard drive when she needs it. And you might have seen some players, like I remember Francesco Molinari working on this with his coaching team in the build-up to when he won the Open at Carnoustie, but you see a lot of pros doing this, and it's where you feel like you jump up. So you load your legs at the top, and then as you get down into the ball, you're jumping up. And somehow that creates like an explosion of power. That was what Camilla Lennarth said, that she feels like she jumps up. And you often see with long drives, this left foot gets like pulled back because they're clearing that left hip so quickly. They're going bang like that. And they're pulling their left, really like exploding in the way that their left hip clears so quickly. And it can lead to quite a lot of power. So it was a good tip from Camilla, but I'm just gonna cruise one down there. That is lovely. Lovely. As my pal Rick would say, lovely. You can see that this golf course is very open, wide fairways, massive greens. So your fairways hit and your greens and regulation statistics go up, but it doesn't necessarily mean your score goes down. So this is an interesting chip shot because I'm below the level of the green. You see the green is above me, and I remember being taught about this shot. Whenever you are so below the level of the green, you want to loft up. So use the loftiest club, in my case a 60 degree. The reason for that is you want the ball to land as soft as possible, and if you go with a low shot, I mean, you could bump and run this, that's a different shot altogether, but if you use loft in your hand, the ball is going to land softer on the green, and it's going to hopefully make things a little bit easier. Can't ask for much more, really. Wouldn't say it's a gimme. Whew. That's why it wasn't a gimme. First birdie of the day, a 3 at the 3rd hole, so we are into the red. Just a reminder of what chasing the red's all about. When you're watching professional golf on the telly, you'll often hear, oh, this putt to get into the red. And when they're in the red, it means they're beating the golf course. The reason I've called this chasing the red is because it's all about beating your best. Whether that's the golf course or whether you play off a handicap of 10, 20, 30, whatever your handicap is, if you break into the red, it means you're playing below your handicap. I think my handicap's about scratch, which is kind of where I'm putting it right now. I really should get a handicap because as a professional, you can now get a handicap with the World Handicap System. So I am going to do that, but playing off scratch for now. So every time I break below par, I am into the red. What's your red? Leave a comment below so I can see, but we all have our own red, and if you break into it, you're doing pretty well. Okay, par 5, first par 5 of the day. 260 yard drive is gonna leave me about 270 into the green. It's on the limit for me to try and get home in 2, but whenever looking at the scorecard, I'm only playing 9 holes, so really the things I'm looking at, first of all, how many par 5s are there? How many par 3s are there? I'm thinking, can I take advantage of those par 5s? And making sure I'm very clinical and disciplined when it comes to the par 3s. When I worked really heavily on stats when I was trying to get better at golf, one of the things that we learned and we identified was that if you par every par 3 in a round of golf, or whatever your par is, if you're playing off an 18 handicap, so if you bogey or in effect get a 4 on every par 3, you are beating the field by a mile. So if you're able to make a par on a par 3, you're doing really, really well. So I remember just at one stage just thinking, right, that's it. I'm not aiming at flags on par 3s. I'm going for the fattest part of the middle of the green, and that is where I'm going to aim, and I'm just going to take my 2-putt and walk on. If I make a 1-putt, then it's a bonus. Amazing how many times that happened, and you find yourself playing safe, trying to make a par, and then you walk off with a birdie. But I still have that approach with par 3s, and then the par 5s, it's like, right, you've got to take advantage of the par 5s. You've got to really try and make the birdies there, because that's the gift from the course. They're saying, come on, take a shot. Here you go. A couple of things I remember getting taught about how to become a good driver of the golf ball. Most important thing is to hit the ball in the up, and how you set up to the ball will determine if you're going to do that. If you set up with your weight all stacked on your left-hand side, you're going to come down on it like you're thumping down on a pitching wedge. That's not what you want. You want to get your sternum and have your weight tipped back from the hip. You're not swaying over here and starting like that. You got to keep your hips and your knees and your feet level. You imagine your zip line going like this, and you just tipping it slightly to the right. That puts the shoulders at a bit of an angle. And now, naturally, you just swing your swing, and you're naturally going to hit on the up. So that's the first thing. The second thing, a really, really good tip was given to me by a very good player that's up in St Andrews. One of my good friends. I'll keep him anonymous, but he always tells me, Iona, keep your height when you're hitting the driver. So I try and feel this thing that I do when I'm trying to keep my height, which is I imagine I've got a bit of hair sticking up the top of my head. And when I swing, if I dip my head and I lose my height, it's really going to hurt. So I try and set my posture, and I think about that, and I try and keep my head exactly where it is and make sure I don't dip. And the reason for that is if you dip and you lose your planes, you dip, you're now going to come thumping down on the ball and potentially hit it off the top of the club head. Do you ever hit those drives where you just see the ball just like shoot to the moon? It's like you want to just welly it, and it goes whoop like this up into the sky. If that happens, you've hit the ball off the top of the club face because you've come down. And instead of catching this lofty bit of the club and hitting it on the up, you've come hit it on the down, and it's caught the top of the face. So one way to stop that happening is to really think about keeping your height. And of course, the ball's sitting on a tee, so it's already a little bit above the ground, which means keeping your height is even more important. I can just rip this one down the middle, I hope. So I'm setting up, and now I'm going to try and make sure that my height stays the same. Anne van Dam is a brilliant example of a player that keeps their height. Lovely. It's such a good tip, that one. Ollie and I are just chatting about like competitive golf and some memories I have when I was trying to play, struggling with my injury. But I remember I used to have this phrase that I used to say to myself, which was never back down. And I used to say this to myself as I was going around. Anytime some adversity came, if I hit a bad shot or I was out of position, I'd just be like, never back down, just keep going, keep looking forward, keep your foot on the gas, don't look back. You know, everybody hits bad shots, everybody does. You know, sometimes you get lucky kicks, sometimes you don't. I was commentating at Sun City the other day at the Ned Bank, and Max Homa was trying to win in the final round, and he hit this tee shot, he just duck hooked it left. And there happened to be a golf cart just sitting down there, and it ricocheted back in. That was his lucky bounce of the week. Everybody gets them, and everybody gets shit bounces too. Whatever happens, you just never back down. Just keep your foot on the gas. We've got 246 yards here. Got my 3-wood. There's a lot of bunkers up there, but there's a little gap. I'm going to try and carry the first lot of bunkers, and then I'm going to see, it's a big ask for me to get my 3-wood 246 yards, but I'm going to give it my best shot. Oh, that's gone so far right. It's in the sand. It's gone right, but it's going to be a wedge on from there. That is not ideal. Down in the desert, all the way down there. How's it lying? Okay, I'm going to take my 60 degree because it's going to be 60 yards. Yay. You can see it's down in this kind of wasteland area, and they've had a bit of rain here in Dubai, believe it or not, which means the sand in that area, as you can see, it's a little bit damp and it's a little bit compacted. But anyway, it's 62 yards to the flag. I've got my 60 degree, and I'm going to try and hit ball then sand. So I'm not playing this like a bunker shot. I'm playing this like nipping it off the top kind of shot. My weight forward on my left hand side and keep my height. Just like that. Go. Couldn't have played that any better.
That was awesome.
That was unbelievable.
That was brilliant.
Could be in the hole. A lot of good things happen in golf when you keep your height, by the way. Generally, because Kevin Cragg's another great coach that I've had the pleasure of spending time with. Used to talk about me and talk about the golf swing and the levels. So if you've got your, I'm getting like really technical tonight, I'm like talking all about golf swing, but it's just in my brain. If you've got your feet and your knees and your hips and your shoulders, he used to talk about them being dinner plates full of peas. And he was like, as you swing, you've got to keep all the peas on the plate. If you suddenly start like, you know, changing all the levels in your body, the peas are going to fall off the plate and you're going to have to compensate and rectify, or if you go that way, you're going to have to go this way. So it's about thinking about those plates and trying to turn them all in a way that the peas, watch your head. In a way that the peas all stay on the plate. So keeping your height, keeping your levels in golf is a good thing. Okay, so it wasn't as close as I thought, but still a really good shot. And I've got a putt for birdie, which is all I could ask for. When you're playing night golf, it's much trickier to read the green. There's this kind of weird glare all over the green. But I've got to say, these floodlights are unbelievable. Oh, it's a par. And that's the thing, it's like, okay, it's a par, but that was my chance to get one on the course, and I missed it. That's all I'm going to say about that. Par 4, nice one, got to keep it down the left-hand side. It's not what the group in front are up to. What are they up to? All right, lads. Seeing as we're just like going all in on the instructional tips tonight, one question that people ask me is, how do you know how high to tee up the ball? Because obviously you tee up the ball at different heights depending on what club you're hitting and depending on what shot you want. But a good standard rule is tee the ball up so that the ball is in the middle of the club face. Now, I hover the driver, so I want to make sure that it's a tee height that's relative to where I'm starting the club. So if it was a 7-iron and it was sitting on the ground, I'd put the tee down and make sure that the ball was in the middle of the face of the 7-iron. If it's a 3-wood or a hybrid, then I'd change the ball height. That's a good standard rule. Obviously, you can get a little bit more advanced than that the further you go, whether you want to hit a low shot or a high shot, but don't worry about that for now. That's just a good sort of standard rule when it comes to teeing up the ball and ball height. Nice. Right, we've got 157 yards to the pin. A little bit downhill at play, so I'm going to take my 7-iron. It's just a nice smooth 7-iron. Came up and out of that. I'm not sure if it's reached the green or if it's in the green side bunker. We'll soon find out. It wasn't a great shot, I'm not going to lie. You can see I wasn't far off in terms of yardage, but I just came up and out of it, so it's come up short right. Now I've got a bunker shot, just a kind of standard bunker shot with my 60 degree. Let's see what I can do here. Whoa, that has gone miles. I didn't take enough sand, I don't think. That was not my best. That was really not my best. Flip. Now that I'm kind of raking the sand, I can feel it's quite a shallow bunker, and I didn't take enough sand. So I'm gonna have a tough putt for par, but really this is 2-putt city. Okay, bit of right to left in this, then it comes back the other way at the end. This is all about pace, this putt. Now it should come back the other way. Come back the other way. Go on. Ooh, didn't really release. Go on. The pace was off there, but the start line was good. So 3, 4, 5, 6, double bogey. Ouch. That's really, really sore. Ouch. Oh, my wedge. Right, par 3. You can see another big green. It's 145 yards. It plays a couple of yards uphill, so it's just a smooth 7-iron for me. It's probably playing about 152 because we're going all the way uphill. And I'm just going to go straight at it. Flag's right in the middle of the green. Uphill putt for birdie here. Bit of right to left. Oh, tidy this up. And she goes, cheeky little 3. That's what we try to do, make 3s at par 3s. Par 4 from an elevated tee. I'm going to take this down the right hand side. 202 yards. Perfect little 5 with this. Par 4, quite a long one. Just going to keep it a little bit left of the flag. I love this club. Oh yeah, baby. So it's a back flag on this, yeah, pretty big green. It's amazing, like the contouring of these golf courses, the way the fringe just blends into the green. You kind of feel like you're playing on like a little gentle hilly landscape. All right, I'm gonna use the flat stick here from just off the green. Bit left to right. Come back. Don't be silly. Don't be silly. That is a ridiculous 3. Double bogey. Bounce back. That is bounce back ability and total fluke. Okay, so I'm back to level par. Running out holes, just 2 to go. It's a beautiful little par 3, 145 yards, so very similar to the previous yardage, except for this time it plays downhill. That's quite interesting, you know. 145 yards uphill, I'm gonna hit my 7-iron. 145 yards downhill, I'm gonna hit my 7-iron, but different kinds of shot. So going down the hill, I say this is playing more like 141 yards. I'm just gonna do that thing I did earlier with my pitching wedge. I'm gonna grip down a little bit on my 7-iron. Right, I'm going straight at this. God, I've gone left. Lovely ball flight. Hopefully it's held its head and it's on the green, but I'm gonna have to go down there to find out. Right, I'm gonna take this neck patch off because I'm not really sure. It's about to get lost. Ow. Ouch. Ow. Okay, my neck's feeling still pretty rough, but anyway, it's a wee bit better. Right, this is down the hill, this putt. This is slick Rick, like putting on a marble staircase. Break back to the hole. Ooh, it didn't quite break the way I thought it was gonna. Oof. Collected some sand on the way, but that is another par at the par 3. $205 yards. It's a long par 4 to finish. It's my perfect little 5-wood number again. So if this goes to plan, it should actually just go in the hole. Go on. Tell you what, Ollie. That was looking rather good. I'm not gonna lie, I caught that a little bit thin, just half a groove thin if I'm being totally honest with you. However, it was running up there like a scalded cat and I think it could be near the hole. Let's go and see.
Oh, there's 2 greens.
What? Oh, that's not it. I am an absolute numpty because I was aiming at the wrong flag. There's another green that sits behind this 18th green and I've gone and zapped that yardage, which was 203 yards, and I've hit my 5-wood just a little bit short of it, when in actual fact the green is down there and I didn't even see it. What an idiot. So now I've got a horrible chip here. I cannot believe this has happened. That is ridiculous. Not knowing my way around and not paying attention. Iona, you idiot. So now I'm scrambling to make my par. Sit. It's going to be a 12-foot putt for par. Can I hole it? Always in front of the clubhouse, you know, you've always got that thing that's a bit of a gallery. You know they're watching. I mean, they're watching, but nobody cares as much as you think they do. But it's always nice to hole a putt in front of a wee gallery, isn't it? Right, I like the look of this putt. It's got a bit of right to left. Hold your head. Oh, that hurts. That really hurts. Truly, I thought I had that. I looked in all the way. Ah, that is a horrible, horrible way to end. However, after zapping the wrong green, scrambling for my par, it was a big ask. So that means I finished the round 1 over par. I've not broken into the red this time around, but I've enjoyed it. Night golf, it's pretty cool, eh? See you next time.